So, do you use Termius? Well, today we're looking at Termix, an open source, forever free, self-hosted, all-in-one server management platform that's positioning itself as a self-hosted alternative to Termius. And we're doing the kind of the real home lab questions here. So, what do you actually get? What are the trade-offs? What does the free versus the pay look like on the Termius side? So, let's get into it. Now, before we start, about 90% of you aren't subscribed, so if you want to stay up to date with everything 45 Home Lab, hit that subscribe and that notification bell. Howdy folks, Zach Perry back here with 45 Home Lab. Now, in today's video, it's basically a head-to-head Termix versus Termius, the features, pros, cons, and where each one makes sense depending on your setup and your pain tolerance for subscriptions. Now, I'll tell you right now, I've used Termius for a long time, few years now, and coming across Termix being an open source version, I had to try it out. So let's actually dive into what it is besides being, an open source alternative. So what Termix actually is a self-hosted server management platform that combines a bunch of tools into one UI. Created by GitHub users Luke Gus and Zachary CCR. It's created, looks like, back in March 2025, so still relatively new project. It gives you things like your SSH access, SSH tunnels with reconnection and health monitoring, remote file manager so you can view, edit code, images, upload, download, and more. Docker management, so start, stop, pause, remove, and basically do a lot of that basic Docker stuff. And then host and credential manager, so tags, folders, reusable logins, etc. And the key bit, it's described as open source, forever free, and self-hosted. And it's meant to be, as I said, an alternative to Termius. Now, installing Termix, very easy to do. Now, for the home lab crowd, this is going to be the part that we kind of care about here. So Termix can be deployed self-hosted, and the project provides a container image reference that you'll see most people run it via Docker, but there's also Deb, it runs on Windows, Mac, etc. Let's actually get in and we'll just go over the install process very quickly and what it actually looks like compared to Termius, but you don't have to look at it as, even though I said it's a head-to-head, this is more just, it's another tool in your toolbox. It's going to be great for a lot of people. I love it, but being that I use Termius a lot, I wanted to kind of put these head-to-head, so now let's get into it.
Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
Now that we're on the Termix website, we can actually see what kind of installations they have available. I'll kind of let everyone take a quick look at that there, but we did ours with basically this exact Docker compose file right here, and it was up and running in a matter of seconds. But if you want to download some other versions there, you just go to your installation here. You have the server option, which is Docker manual, your connectors, so machines that you want to be able to connect to the Termix instance that you have running, but we already have one running up here, so let's actually look at what we have. So when you first log into it, it'll ask you to enter a username and a password, of course. Now, there is a web option, which I'm using here, but I also have the dashboard one installed as well. So they are the exact same thing, really. Just one's on a web browser, one is in an actual tool on your desktop. So just going to stick to this one for now. But you can see here we have a few different folders that I've created. So one for Ceph, one for HomeLab, and one for Proxmox cluster. So we have all of our gateways and our OSD nodes here. We have a HL15 Beast that is offline at the moment. So the good thing that I really like about this, that Termius doesn't have, at least not in the free starter version, which is what I use, is health checks, and maybe it's not pivoting itself to actually be that, but this is a great quality of life thing for myself, and there are other dashboards and everything that can do it, but I am a big fan of kind of how this displays itself and everything. But let's actually start. So at the dashboard here, we have our version, our up-to-date, if the database is healthy, its current uptime, that's of the container itself or the server that it's on. You have your total servers, your credentials, and we'll talk a little bit more in depth about what's in this screen kind of as we go through, and I kind of do a kind of high level view here. But we can see our recent activity, our server stats. So let's say we want to look at one of our OSD nodes. They have it laid out really nicely here. So our CPU usage, we can see it's not doing too much. SSH login statistics, uptime, system information, and same thing on any of them here, like obviously not this one here, but let's just take a look. So yeah, obviously it's going to say that we can't get to it, and it's going to revert back to our dashboard. And there are some user profile, so you can have different users and everything set up on this. I'm logged in as an admin at the moment, so there's your general info, your authentication, your users, sessions that you have open. You can revoke those, roles and database security, so pretty basic stuff there. Now let's go back to our home page here, and let's actually go into one of our nodes. So I have a Debian 13 system here, so we would just click that, and boom, we're in. Now, if we want to actually add a host, we would go to our host manager here, we can add it, type in the IP address, the username, name itself of the host, and our authentication, whether it be password, SSH key, anything like that. There's also options for SOCKS proxy, jump host, and some advanced auth settings. Now you have your credential viewers here. We also have go straight to our terminal where you have its own individual settings. So quite a few here, like Tokyo Night, it'll give you a preview, which is one thing that Termius does have, which I do like. The font family, you can change that for each individual session, and a whole bunch of things here to kind of make it your own. And then we have our credential viewer, add credential. And let's go through and go back here. Now, let's say that we have this system here. We know that it has some containers on it. We want to actually do some container management. So this is where we would go to that host. And let's say this is one thing, and this might just be my inexperience of use with it, but I would like a feature where you can just click on it here and it will bring you to it. But that's just my own personal thing here. But let's go to it here, and we can see we have one actual container, and it's our Termix, what we're accessing right now. So we can do some basic stuff, stop, start, pause, restart it, or trash it entirely. But then we can get actually live logs. We can do check the stats on it to see what it's doing at the moment, and we can go right into the console, which is a nice feature. And with that, let's go and we'll clean this up a little bit here. And this is kind of really just scratching the surface of what this project can do. I guess the other thing I'll show that's really nice is the actual file manager. So see here, it's all laid out very neatly. So if you're familiar with File Explorer, Finder, Dolphin, anything really, it's going to be, you're going to be right at home. Don't know why I went into so much detail on a File Explorer, but yeah, we can see everything here. We can edit our files if we have the proper permissions, add a file here, and this is a test. And there we go, we have that. And now if we were to go into SFS over here, and let's go to the itself, that was gateway 1, and if we go to cd/mount/cffs ls, this is a test, ls-al, and we can see that right there. Now, being that this is touting itself as a comparison to Termius, I'd be remiss if I didn't actually bring up Termius itself. Like I said, I am a big fan of it. It does have quite a lot of features. It is a more modern, fleshed out product, but again, Termix is under a year old and it's still doing quite a bit. But yeah, if for anybody who isn't familiar with Termius, I have a version here. I just have the starter version. Yeah, we have our basic terminal here, and let's see, we'll get out of that one. We'll clear this. And then you have your vault. So if you want to add any actual other machines, if you want to add known hosts, snippets, Termix has all of these as well. Now there are some premium features that are locked behind a paywall with Termius, unfortunately, which we'll get into. But like I said, I still am a big fan of it. It has other things like DigitalOcean, AWS integration, port forwarding. So there are a lot of pros to Termius just in the free edition. And like I said, still a big fan, but I wanted to kind of put these head to head. But with that said, let's go back in and we'll kind of take a look at a little more in depth on what you get with each, the pros and cons, the pricing model of Termius, and if that's enough for you to really bear with dealing with Termius with that subscription, or if Termix would really be a better alternative. So now let's see what we get in the Termius free versus the paid. Now, let's talk about what you actually get between the two, because this is why comparisons matter. So in the starter version of Termius, you get a few basic things. You get SSH and SFTP. It also does have a file manager, which I didn't highlight, but it has a local vault. AI-powered autocomplete, whether that's a plus or minus for some people, port forwarding. So if you're solo and you only need basics, the free can be good enough. And this is what I use since I'm way too cheap to add another subscription. And moving on to the paid tiers, you have the Termius Pro tier, which is $10 a month when paid annually. And it includes all the starter features, personal vault, you can sync across mobile and desktop, snippet, automation. So this is usually the kind of the breakpoint. So people pay for sync and vault and snippets. So while it is in the free version, it is kind of locked behind there. And then there's the team and business models that are $20 and $30 per month per user. Now, Termix versus Termius, the practical comparison. Now, ownership and privacy. So you're using, on Termius, you're using their accounts plus their cloud ecosystem for the good stuff. So the sync, the vault, the team features. In Termix, you self-host it, your data stays where you put it. Now, Termix wins if you're thinking, if it's my SSH keys, why is it in somebody else's cloud? And now cross-device syncing. So Termius Sync is clearly positioned as a paid feature. Pro includes sync across mobile and different desktops. Termix, you can access it anywhere because it's hosted, but you're responsible for availability, backup, securing it, and putting it out there to the wider internet. Now, the trade-off is Termius is convenience, but Termix is full control. And now jumping to team collaboration. So Termius Team and Business has collaboration, so multiple people can access the same session, SSO, and a bunch of things like that. And Termix is positioned as an all-in-one management platform, and you're going to be managing still the users, the RBAC, all that stuff. So if you need to fill some checkboxes there where you need to fill these certain security requirements, Termius might be what you need there, all depends. Now let's talk about the features besides just plain SSH. So it's a modern SSH client platform, Termius that is. Termix, it's trying to be a broader management console, so terminal, tunnels, files, Docker controls, all in one UI. And Termix wins if you want one pane of glass for all of your HomeLab boxes. And let's say you have an HL15 beast here, and you have Proxmox running on it. On that Proxmox host, you have VMs, you have containers inside of those VMs, Plex, Frigate, etc. So Termius and Frigate are both going to accomplish that management from an SSH perspective, but a big part of homelabbing is that it's your data, you don't want it on somebody else's servers, and that's why self-hosting is so important. Now, the pros and cons of each. So kind of at a high level here, so with Termix, it's forever free and self-hosted, bundles a terminal, tunnel, file managers, and basic Docker administration. And it's great for home labs where you already run our Vertex proxy plus auth-like traffic. Now, Termix cons, you have to run your own security, backup updates, TLS, and you're kind of in control of all that. Not a problem for some people. So it goes down to, do you want a single pane of glass or do you want that convenience? Now, Termius, extremely polished user experience, low friction, clear plan ladder for individuals, teams, business. Those paid tiers cover the convenience features that people actually want, so sync, snippet, and the team vaults. And it does come with its cons. So obviously the big one is that subscription, 120 per year minimum for the basic. So if you want to sync plus vault, you're paying because it's a big part of the pro version. So with that said, where do you fall on this? I'm still going to be using the free tier of Termius for the foreseeable future because I'm used to it and I'm stuck in my ways. But I do have my gripes with it, especially that minimum $120 a year subscription. But with that said, I'm going to be following this project very closely because this project isn't even a year old and it already had me considering swapping. So as it grows, adds more quality of life features, it's going to be a powerhouse of a tool if they continue on the trajectory they're on now. Now let me know in the comments. Do you use Termius, Termix, something else like Royal TSX or RDM? If you want to see everything that we have on offer, head on over to store.45homelab.com. All of our socials and the projects we discussed in the description down below. And if you want to see more deep dives like this on Proxmox, ZFS, self-hosted tooling, hit subscribe. I'm Zach Perry, and I'll see you all in the next one.